Hey guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Rock Sound. It is the latest of our video calls. We've been chatting to everybody while we're all kind of stuck at home at the minute, but I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by Mr. Joe Trohman. How are you, man?
I'm okay. How are
Hanging
you?
in there. Not bad.
Yeah, that's
Not bad.
everyone's hanging in there, right? That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing okay, I think is the
What?
way of the world right now.
Well, yeah, that's the question. How you hanging in there? You doing okay? That's the common question. I
That's the
think
common conversation.
if you're not over 65, you're probably doing all right. I don't know. And
Yeah. Just hanging in
hopefully
there.
you're
I think
hanging
that's
in
the
there.
average answer. Yeah.
I'm not sick, so I'm okay.
That's a start. That's a very good start. Yeah, that's kind of how we kicked off all these, was just say, of course, I hope, your family, your loved ones, your bandmates, all keeping safe, keeping well throughout this time. And before we kind of get onto the various projects you've been doing, just generally, how have you been doing over this last year in terms of, I guess, trying to find ways to stay creative, just keeping yourself going? What kind of experience has been like for you? Because again, Fall Out Boy in particular, a band that live on the road a lot of the time. This has got to be nice in a way to have a lot of extended time at home.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, bands make most of their money on the road, and they do most of their work on the road, and most of the most of the playing of music is not done in the studio. It's done a little bit in the studio until you're done, and then you're on the road, and that's where you really get to do it. So it's strange not doing that. It is nice being home with my family, but I don't think any human being is supposed to be this close to their friends or family or whoever they're quarantining with for this long. That being said, it's wonderful to I've spent more time with my kids. My oldest daughter, she's like complains that she doesn't get to see me enough. I'm like, you see me every day, all day. What do you mean you don't get to see me? I mean, it's a sweet complaint. But then yeah, I have a lot of stuff that like I haven't told people about because I can't, but I'll just say I'm doing stuff. I've been working a little bit writing in television. I'm working on some comics with some people. One being my writing partner, Brian Posehn, who I did. I don't know if anyone heard the hilarious comedy metal record I helped work on, Grandpa Metal. So we're working together on that. So I've actually been really busy with a bunch of projects that most of them will come to fruition. Some of them probably won't, but basically in the writing sphere,
Yeah.
which is cool. It's a different muscle to exercise. And I honestly, like, I haven't had a kick in the butt to make any music. Not that I don't want to, but I don't know like where it's gonna go. I make it and put it out and then no one cares and can't tour on it, can't do anything with it. So, it's sad. It's sad for the industry. It's sad for venues that music is has this, it's been crippling for the industry, and it's rough. And I said this before at the beginning of the pandemic, it's not going to hurt a band like Fall Out Boy. We're a big band with huge infrastructure built in. It's going to hurt the smaller bands and all smaller artists, and they're truly the lifeblood. I mean, like, they make up most of the acts in the industry, even though, the majority of us probably don't know who the majority of them are, but together they make up, the day-to-day, hour to hour live performances and such. And I think, and they're also what keeps small venues alive too, booking those smaller, club shows and stuff. So it's really tough. I just hope, live music isn't totally eviscerated by the time we're all, immunized, and then from there herd immunized and back at it.
Yeah, fingers crossed things might get back to some kind of sense of, I don't even want to say normality, but some kind of event space before the end of the year would be nice.
Well,
it's looking positive, but
it'll be a new normal. This thing is we're living still through a global pandemic. There is no like, all right, well, that's done. Eventually people forget about it in 100 years, like we did about the Spanish flu in America. That happened 100 years ago. We didn't learn anything from that. And some people will not learn something from this when there's another pandemic in the future. But, in the immediate aftermath, it'll be a new normal. It'll still be, I don't know for how long we'll have to be wearing masks safely, or we'll be trying to wear masks. I don't know how long it'll take to get to herd immunity after, lots of people get inoculated, but a lot of people who are anti-vaxxers and stuff, which they're batshit crazy for being that way. But sure, please don't do you, but okay, I can't stop you. But it's going to take time. Everyone was really hopeful that this year we would be back at it already. And I'm the son of a doctor, so I was like, I don't think we're going to be back at it till 2022, truthfully. But I don't know about for instance, our big Fall Out Boy's big tour that we have been to be, I don't know, the thing we're supposed to do with Green Day and Weezer, that tour, that thing.
That little date's in the calendar, that little event.
We're still hoping to do it this year, but we're all waiting, we're all waiting to find out what is safe, when regulations will be lifted or changed in a safe way, not like in a reckless way too. We don't want to be reckless, and we don't want to expose, fans, concert goers to, death.
Yeah. Be a new experience that you get when you go to a Fall Out Boy show.
I couldn't live with it, man. If we're a super spreader event.
Oh God, of course. I mean, I think everyone's very understanding at the minute that all you can do is wait. In a lot of ways, we've got to all just wait and see what's going to happen. And it's nice that for artists like yourself, like you've just said, you can find other creative outlets in this time, and you've got the time and the ability to do that. And case in point, let's touch on this podcast, man, that you've just kind of launched.
Sure.
God, I hate myself. I guess. Has this been something you've wanted to approach for a while now? You said it was nice to have the time suddenly to get a bit of a kick up the arse to do things you've maybe thought about for a while. Is this one of those projects?
No.
Oh, well, that ruined my setup, but okay, fair enough.
No, it doesn't ruin your setup. It's a good segue into that. I think anyone that's followed Fall Out Boy for a long time has seen me duck further and further into the shadows of the band. And that's because I found, you keep in mind, we started the band, I was 17. Now I'm nearly 37. That's 20 years we've been doing this band. And what I've learned is I don't like being in the forefront. It makes me very uncomfortable. I have a lot of, I'm very clear about this on the podcast, and I'll be very clear. I'm rife with self-esteem issues. I'm uncomfortable enough being on stage as it is, but it's my job. I have to do that. And also, we talked a little bit before we started recording about, I have chronic, degenerative back problems that have made it harder for me to move. So now I'm on stage, I'm stiff, I'm Mick Mars. If anyone doesn't know who any younger people don't know who I'm referencing, the guitarist of Motley Crue, who has calcified bones. But I have right now I have vertebrae on vertebrae, discs missing. I'm a mess. So I have that, along with self-esteem issues, along with the fact that I don't like to be in the forefront, along with the fact that I don't really love the sound of my own voice, yet I will yak, as is evident right now. So that being said, I got a little bit of a push to do this, but I think sometimes I need a little bit of a push sometimes. And I am surprised, I re-listened to both the episode that I just did with Seth Green that's out, and then one that's coming up with comedian Ron Funches, lovely teddy bear himself, nicest guy in comedy. And I was like, oh, this isn't bad. I was like, this isn't too bad. And I think some of the reactions I've seen have been great. People, I think, I had this show in development. I won't say where it was at. It's an animated show, and it's about a guy who only gets superpowers when he's super depressed. And I was really excited. I didn't think it would get most shows. If you get a chance,
solid concept though. That's
if you get a chance, thank you. And if you get a chance to sell a TV show, most of them don't go, and that's just the way it is. You're lucky if you get to write a script. You're lucky if you get a sale. And so I didn't think that would go, but I was hopeful it would. And the whole goal with that show is not only to make something funny, as we said, farts with heart, but something funny and something heartfelt, but it was also to destigmatize conversations around depression. And so this is, this is what I want to do with the podcast. Hopefully people also listen to it, and it can grow a life of its own. And if people don't listen to it, is what it is. But So far the reactions have been like exactly what I was hoping for, which I've, I'm not super on social media for my own mental health, but I'll go and peruse some of the comments expecting like a lot of shit talking, as is Twitter. And that's to be expected. And I was like, all right, let's get my heart broken a little bit. And instead it's been a lot of people who are like, this has made me feel better about the feelings I have. It makes me feel less alienated. And it puts kind of all of my rat's nest of problems into context. And knowing that you feel the same way makes me feel better. Because at the end of the day, I think there's a misconception too that success equals is a solvent to all problems, and it's not. I mean, I am successful, like technically successful, but depression is a physical ailment. It is a physical imbalance in your brain, and it needs to be addressed. And I think people need to stop treating it as taboo. I think people don't understand it. I think people do not understand the connection between trauma and depression. There's so much, and I've been in therapy since I was 10, 11 years old. So I've had a lot of time to kind of go over this with therapists. I enjoy psychology. I enjoy armchair psychoanalyzation and all that stuff. I'll never purport myself to have any sort of degree, but I have experience and I have like figured out how to, when I'm in my worst state of depression, even having suicidal ideations or anything like that, I am able to, at this point in my life, like almost not compartmentalize, but like separate, have my one irrational side of my brain that is going through those horrible, horrible dark thoughts, and the other go, this is your depression. This is your mental illness or your mood disorder. And just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that like this will pass, and you need to like kind of go through your vast amount of tools that you've kind of like gotten together through years of therapy and start figuring out what's going to work to get you out of this scenario. But like, again, I've had that experience. A lot of people are just starting to figure this out now. They're stuck, in America, we have so much space in the middle of our country, and it's rural, and it's full of, especially like, I'm sure everything from young kids to older people who are dealing with depression and other disorders, mood disorders, in very isolated ways, and they have nowhere to go. They have no resources. And if this can be a resource, at least to help a little bit, awesome. I hope it can be. I definitely don't. My concern is always sensitivity to the subject, while also demystifying it. And also kind of like, I've always used humor as a way to get around it, because I'm a Jewish person. That's what we do. Jewish people, we tend to make fun of we tend to contextualize misery through comedy.
It's a good way of wording it. It's interesting you say about demystifying. I think that is such an important point, because, openness and honesty about these conversations, I think, does allow them to be so relatable. Even as you say, someone like yourself who, has had an incredibly successful career, but depression doesn't work that way at all. It really doesn't. And it even comes down to the title of the podcast. I mean, you explain it a little bit in the Seth Green episode, the kind of opening episode, but that title of I Hate Myself, there's an ownership there. It's nice to sort of take the power back a little bit, I think, and really put that first foot forward with it there,
I think that's a great way to put it. I think it's all about trying to, we all feel like the worst versions of ourselves when we feel completely out of control. And I think depression, you can feel so out of control when you're dealing with, especially with the depths of, depression is an interesting thing. It's hard to explain to some people. It's not I'm depressed right now while we're talking, but I'm not in a terrible mood. I don't even feel down. It's always kind of there a little bit. But I think when you're at your worst moments, you feel really out of control. And so what's another way you can look at your depression? Can you flip it? I always like to take things and flip them. And can you flip depression and see how it can be kind of more of a superpower? For me, for instance, it allows me to go into a stressful meeting and kind of look like, not that I don't care, but that I'm calm, cool, and collected, And so that's how I use it. It's almost, it's like it's like a natural downer, take the edge off. But that's one way I can use it. There's some comedian, I don't know his name, and I'm gonna butcher his bit, but he basically said like, being a depressive is just being a realist.
Right.
And I think there's nothing wrong with being a realist. I think there's, you have to be careful about, getting past, spiraling out of control and getting to that point where, there's a bit of tongue in cheek with I hate myself. I mean, for many, many, many years, I just legitimately hated myself. I don't hate myself anymore, though there's times I feel that way, but I don't overall hate myself. They're complicated feelings, a lot of self-loathing. That's just part of it. It's natural. It's a natural self-loathing. And I think at the end of the day, another way I use that to my advantage is I'm unable to see myself as any better than anyone else. It doesn't matter. Like, I love being, I mean, I'm so grateful and proud of Fall Out Boy, but it doesn't define who I am. I'm not like, oh, I'm bigger and better than everyone else at this restaurant because I'm in Fall Out. Nobody cares. And I don't care. I love what we do. When I get on stage, that's when it matters. When I get off stage, I'm just going, I'm Joe, and who gives a shit? You know, I feel like a fraud as it is. I don't feel like I don't deserve to be up there anyway. I feel like there's probably, I don't know, 1,000+ people in the crowd that are more talented than I am, and yet I'm up there, you know.
But we paid to see you, man. We want to see you. That's the
thing. Maybe I should be paying to see you. That's the reality. I don't know, you know.
That's the rub. I like how you use the phrase of like treating it like a superpower. I mean, you've referenced a couple of comedy bits there. One, you know, I'm a big comedy nerd as well. One bit that really sticks in my head forever. It was a chat with Pete Holmes and Colbert at some point. And I remember they were talking about performance anxiety, specifically like getting on stage performance anxiety. And they said it's like, oh, it's your buddy. It's your buddy in the car on the road trip. You have to acknowledge it. You can't let it drive, but it's sitting shotgun the whole time. And you can acknowledge it's there, but you're not going to let it steer at any point, but you can still have it in the car with you. It's part of who you are. It's kind of there. And it's just about making sure the journey carries on and you're still in control of that journey, but you can still wave to it there.
That's exactly that's a good way to think of it. Yeah, it is. Your depression is your, to a degree, the devil on your shoulder. Sure. And I think it's going to influence you to a degree, but at the end of the day, you can also sometimes say, fuck you, I'm in control right now. But that takes work and that takes time. You know, for instance, I know with Fall Out Boy, some of our fans are young. It's not easy to be, you know, a teenager and be like, well, I'm in control now. You're barely in control of anything as a teenager, let alone, you know, your emotions. So that's a really tough place, but that's a time to start working on it. It takes time. I think that's the other thing too, is this isn't, as I mentioned, this is a thing I've developed over 20 years. And I'm sure for Pete Holmes too, you know, I know a little bit about his journey. He's talked about that publicly. I mean, he's gone through a lot of shit as well. So I think it probably has taken him time to get to the point where, you know, his depression, his anxiety can be a passenger rather than the driver. And I think that is a great way to put it, though, make it a passenger. I think really it's part of you, you know, this is part of you. You're not going to like, there's no cure for it. There isn't. There's new treatments, you know, now they started using ketamine for really suicidal people. They're talking about psilocybin mushrooms, hallucinogens. Those things are all helpful. The mushroom stuff, I think, is more in a testing phase, but I've heard great things about that. Weed is helpful. I'm a pothead. It's awesome. So is Lexapro. That's a little more helpful. That's also something I take, but they probably don't work great together, but here I am. But this stuff's all helpful, and it's all great if it works for you. I think at the end of the day, you just have to realize it's a constant thing. It's like being an alcoholic and going to AA. You're never not an alcoholic. You're somebody that's working on their sobriety, and it's a lifetime's worth of work, and that's okay. But you know, it is what it is, man, and it's a part of you. And instead of like fighting it, be nice to it. Be nice to you. You know?
Be nice to you is a great turn of phrase. That definitely works. And it's and again, by the way, tell me if I'm ever prying too much with this stuff, but like I always find that when
you can pry, it's
okay. Well, I mean, do tell me to shut up if you need to. But anyway, whenever I've had conversations that kind of gone down this track with people in, you know, our kind of industry and particularly in your line of work, I think one of the unifying factors seems to be, man, it's tough to cope with it when you're on the road so much, because you are away from your family naturally, and it can get very, very stressful environment. I just wonder, you know, in terms of that mental health toolkit or whatever we want to call it, do you find yourself being able to get into a routine these days on tour where it's like, yeah, this is my manageable routine. This is what gets me in show mode. This is how I deal with any anxieties that pop up and all that kind of thing?
It's hard. You think it would get easier the bigger your band gets, but actually the more money that your band has, the more luxuries you have, the easier it is to fuck off and kind of do nothing.
Right.
It's almost easier to show up in a van and be like, okay, I have to find where I'm going to get food, where I'm going to get clean. It's almost easier to get a routine like that because you're forced to kind of go on your own and do it. I mean, like, not that like, this isn't where this, I'm not a Greek emperor where people are feeding me grapes, but I mean, like, there's a lot that kind of gets done. I mean, if you ever get a chance to come and see, have you personally ever come and seen like our kind of backstage area, like with all the trucks and all the, you know what I mean? It's a lot of people.
At the O2, I remember seeing that because we interviewed the llamas as well as the band
on
that
right,
one. So
yeah.
we're down the O2.
So you've seen all like, I mean, and you only seen it in England, which is like,
sure.
It's big, but smaller. London's probably where it's going to be the biggest. In the US, for instance, it'll be 7+ trucks, 10+ buses, tons of crew. I mean, it's really an army. It takes a village plus to put our whole. So it's like all these people really running the thing, and you're kind of left there as the headlining act, going like, all right, I guess it's up to me to plan my day. And I think it's hard when you're depressed. It's hard. I think what I try to do is, I have all these other projects I do. And if I have deadlines and things I have to turn in, it's important that I get up and I go, okay, I have to write this today. I have to this meeting today. I have this. So it does fill my day up, and it means I have to like not be stoned all day. It's easy to get stoned and play video games all day, which sounds really fun. I don't know. For me, like after about like 3 hours of that, I'm like, man, what am I doing with my life? So I think it can get rough. I think being away from there's obviously being away from my family, being away from my kids is really hard. I haven't had to do that in a while. So, it's that part is nice. Routine is so important when you're depressed. It's important, and it's hard to make it yourself. So I think that's something you have to work on. Excuse me. You have to work on really hard to set a routine for yourself and go, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to work out in the morning. I have these things I have to do, this to do on Friday, whatever it is, if that's your regular thing, and trying to set that on the road. Who's the best at that is Andy, or Andy Hurley, our drummer. He's really good because he's just his workout routine, I think, is so incredible. And I think that's a big part of it's like it's a daily part of his routine. So he's a real set your watch kind of guy. I just try to do my best. I think the best thing on the road for me is to get the fuck out of bed, not too late, make sure it's still the AM, have my same breakfast every morning, and get inside and start saying hi to everybody, talk to people. Don't isolate myself and be alone. There's a lot of people on tour. They may not say hi to you, even though you're the headliner, because maybe they think you want time alone or whatever. I go and say hi to our tour manager, hi to our tech, talk to everybody. And I think all of a sudden I've killed 3 hours just socializing. And I'm like, I feel okay just being with people. That helps a great deal. Getting off the couch. That's really what it is,
Yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense, man. And I mean, it's great to hear you talk so openly about all this stuff in the podcast as well. And something I absolutely have to note on the podcast, very familiar voice popping up with that little theme tune we heard there. Yourself and Patrick working on that theme tune, I take it?
He did it. I didn't have any,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had Patrick, I did this like short animated series called Mondo Trasho, also with Wade, my co-host. He co-wrote it and co-created it with me. Patrick, I had Patrick do all the music, because when you're like with that, when you're doing all the kind of putting the whole show together, I'm like, it sounds like, it would be fun to also do the music. But I'm like, no, I'm like writing, and I'm like looking at, animatics, and I'm doing voice records, I'm directing, I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm producing. And then all of a sudden it comes to music, and I'm like, oh, I'm just too tired. I was like, why don't I see if the guy who's my friend, who's in my band, who's really quite better at this than me, I'll just throw it to him. And we had such a great experience doing that Mondo Trasho. I'd be like, hey, can you do something like this? Do something like this. A lot of times I didn't have to give him much direction, because we just kind of like, when it comes to comedy, we like the same stuff, and he's really funny in song. So I was like, what do you want to do here? And then he came back with these Huey Lewis and the News kind of riffs. And I'm like, that's just fantastic, man. Thank you. I actually was literally just emailing with our engineer today. I was like, we never like recorded like credits for the end of the show. I know people know it's Patrick, but I think that needs to be a little clearer at the end of the show. So I'm going to do that today to put on the subsequent episodes.
Like somebody listening thinking, that dude does a great Patrick Stump impression, whoever's on the front there. Yeah.
If they know him in Fall Out Boy, they may put two and two together and assume I could pull a favor.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, he just did that because he's great, you know, and he's working on a lot of scoring for TV and film, so he's kind of in that right now. Cool. And for him, this is fun because he's not getting any notes. I'm like, dude, I trust you, go do it, you know. And he sends me like, there's versions of all of those. I have 5 of each that are like are not on there that I may just, you know, swap in for other episodes for fun. They're all hilarious.
That's great, man. No, it's such a nice little nod there. I really enjoyed that. And I'm glad you mentioned Mondo Trasho as well, because, you know, what a lovely, lovely fan reaction that had. And I guess the obvious question there would be, plans for more of that? It seems like there's certainly room for it and certainly a demand for it.
If somebody will pay for it, I paid for it. That was all, no network or production company or studio paid for that. That was personally out of pocket, which I wanted to do that. I wanted to make it. That was the whole plan, was just like, while we're waiting to pitch, or while I'm in development at this network or doing this thing with this production company or this studio, you know, which all this stuff is slow and you just aren't guaranteed to ever, you know, again, like I said, most TV that gets sold or most scripts that get sold rarely ever get made. You know, for the amount that you've seen, there's millions that haven't ever been made that are probably really great. So with that, it was like, let's just make it. Let's do the thing that's hard to do. Let's just go make it. So we made it, and I love how it came out. It's not cheap to make animation, you know, it's laborious. And honestly, like, we did that was cheap considering, and those people that worked on it worked really, really hard. And so if we get to do it again, I'd love to at least partner with somebody on the financial side so we could pay these people better who are working, these animators, and you know, spend more time with the characters in the show and, you know, develop it a little more. You know, it would be nice to do. I took it around to a couple networks, then didn't want it, which is, yeah, it's fine. I'm not offended by it. I love it, and I'm glad people liked it. So yes, we would do it again if there were money to do it.
Sure. That's, I mean, more than fair. That's absolutely fair.
That's really the truth. It's not like a lack of want, it's a lack of money.
Sure. Fingers crossed at some point. It'd be nice to see you do that. And I mean, this is, again, like we've said several times here, you're working on so much stuff, and it's cool to see the diverse range of it. I did one of these with Mikey Way a couple of weeks back and mentioned the Anthrax comic that he's a part of with Gerard. I know you've been a part of that as well. How did you get involved, and what was your approach to kind of taking an element of an album and turning it into comic form?
Yeah, it's a great set of questions there. So I rent a part of an office space that's more rented by Rick Remender, who's, if you don't know Rick Remender, one of the best comic writers out there. I mean, Deadly Class, Low, you know, Last Days of American Crime, just incredible. And I was already a fan of Rick's, and then Rick and I became friends through Brian Posehn, and so we share an office. We've been developing like a couple things potentially for Image or for its imprint on Image, which we are actively working on. But in the meantime, this came up. They reached out to Rick initially, not me. And Rick was like, Rick then reached out to me. He's like, hey, do you want to do this with me? I was like, totally. And we cracked the story in like maybe 30 minutes, an hour. Because I went and looked over the lyrics. I'm like, listen, this song's about John Belushi. And he's like, really? I didn't realize that. I'm like, yeah, it's about John Belushi. It's like, we could write a comic about John Belushi. That's very on the nose. And I don't know, the history of John Belushi's out there. Let's write something inspired by, you know, let's just find, you know, it's basically, it's an allegory. It's a warning, you know, be careful what you wish for, I guess. Right. Cause it's like, with fame and stardom comes all of these dangerous trappings of drugs and alcohol. And it's true. It's just tropey, but real. So we thought we'd lean into that about a comedian that would do anything and everything it takes to achieve success. But it's got a little bit of that monkey paw, you know, be careful what you wish for. The wish that you make isn't actually, it's not going to be as one for one. And that's where we took it.
Yeah,
And
fun
we just got
project to be about.
we got to just kind of like lean into like some dirtiness and whatnot, and some grossness and some jokes and stuff. And Roland Bashi, who did the does the art, he's incredible. You don't have to give him any direction. He's a storyteller in his own right. So the pages I've been getting back, some of them I think are up on an interview I did it with CBR. They're just the non-color roughs, they're out of control good.
Yeah, it's exciting project, man. It's really cool list of people that got involved. I'm very, very intrigued to see the final thing, man. It's very, very cool. A couple more things before I let you go. Just on the music front, one of the last times we got to talk to you specifically was around the return of the Damn Things, which was very exciting for all involved. Just a little bit now, it's in the rear view. How was that experience for you, man? It must have been nice to be able to come back to that after a few years away.
I mean, it's great. I love that album. I think we're all really proud of it. Yeah, I'd love to do more. That's another band where money is always the hindrance. It's like we wanted to go more. We did like the US tour we did was really, really fun. Great bands on that run. People kept asking, you're going to come to England, you're going to do this. None of the festival stuff really lined up. We were never really able to get out of the country on this record. Which is a shame. We wanted to do so much more. And then, as it happens, like other band priorities, Fall Out Boy, Every Time I Die, Anthrax, all of that starts creeping back in. So it's a tough one to do, but we're all proud of it. We'd love to do more with it. I think it comes down to it always comes down to money. And it's honestly, I can record the record myself, like at my studio. I have a studio at home. So that isn't the hard part. It's even less about making the records, and it's more about getting out there on the road, and that just costs a lot of money. And I think we're all in our 40s, 50s, and it's tough to tour in a band, because that would be the only way to do a lot of this stuff, to tour like very cheaply, do it in a van, sleep on people's floors. And I think all of our backs, mine included, are probably a little too banged up for that. So hope to do more, man.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. No, it was, again, another one where it was just really nice to see that fan reception and people delighted that you guys have been able to come back in that way.
Yeah, I really appreciated the all the love for that record. I'm just glad people, I love it. I really do. It's not that I don't love other records I've made, but it's one of the few that I listened back to a little bit and I felt guilty for listening to my own thing.
That's a good sign, though. That's a good sign.
It's a good sign. I'm still proud of it. Yeah. It's still random people crop up here and there that I would never have expected to even know about the band. And I find out, especially it's weird working in I was starting to work in animation on the TV side of stuff. And I'm meeting these people that work in animation that are like, hey man, I just want to let you know, I really wish I'd been at that Roxy show that the Damn Things played. And I was like, the Damn Things? It's a lesser known thing that I do. So it's fun when I hear that. I'm just glad. It just shows that at the what we approached that record just with wanting to make a really, really good record. Not that we didn't approach the first one that way, but I think there was more pressure. At least I felt more pressure to be like, this is my first thing I've done outside of Fall Out Boy and fucking forever. And now there's more eyes on it. And it felt like there was all this other stuff surrounding it that had less to do with just focusing on just making a great set of songs. And this one was no one knew we were doing it. We could do it in secret and just make what we wanted to make. And it shows, for better or worse.
Yeah, it's so much fun, that record, man. It's really, really cool. I want to touch briefly on Fall Out Boy. Obviously, we mentioned Hella Mega Tour already. We know it will happen at some point. We hope it'll be sooner rather than later, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I did one of these with Pete as well last year, and we just reminisced a little bit. Speaking of shows I wish I'd been at, my God, that whiskey show you guys got to do, unreal, dude. I mean, that lineup in that tiny room, that must have been a hell of an evening, right? Talk to me a bit about that experience.
That was really fun. I got very nervous because we had to do it against Green Day and Weezer. So.
I like how you say against, like it's a contest.
Like it's a contest. I
Come
know.
on, people are delighted to see all of you. There's no contest here.
That is the wrong way to look at it, isn't it? I always feel like I'm always going up against people. But that's not how I feel about those guys. They're all wonderful people. I mean, it did feel a little bit like it's so... we're decades into being what we are, but we're still far behind Weezer and Green Day. I mean, I was a kid when I got into their early records. So it's wild to be. I'm grateful. I mean, it's an honor to be lumped in with them. It's the coolest thing ever. It's never feels as part of my personal imposter syndrome. It never feels earned, but it's great. It was so cool. That was actually, not to get sad about it, but that was actually I was so nervous that I drank like a whole case of beer. I'm not kidding, like a case of beer, a small case, 12 beers, just 12. That's when I learned after that. It was days after that show. I was like, I think I have to quit drinking, because I'd been doing a lot of day drinking. And that was the culmination of like, so I honestly, I don't remember it because I kind of blacked out at the show. I've seen videos and I somehow played fine blacked out, which is fucked up. All that's fucked up, but it looked like an awesome show. So I wasn't really there either.
Right.
I don't think I was there, but yeah, I was very I mean, those guys make me nervous. Green Day and Weezer, they make me nervous still. Because I'm like I said, I mean, how old are you?
I'm 32. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not much older than you. I'll be 37 this year. So like,
Okay.
we're not that much older than each other, or I'm not that much older than you, but like,
Sure.
I mean, when Blue Album came out, when Dookie came out, I mean, those are big records.
It's the records of my childhood, man. I'm sure
records of my childhood as well, and so it's a cool, you never stop being a fan. I think especially when you're a nerd, like I'm a nerd, and I love like my stuff, my toys, and my skate decks, and my CDs, and all that stuff. Like, and these people like are. The things they've made are like a part of me. So then to like meet them and be like, you're on the same level as they are. And I'm like, no, I don't feel that way at all. And the only way I'm going to be able to deal with this frightening moment is to drink the problem away. And so, I'm glad it didn't ruin the show and that I didn't like vomit and fall off the stage. So that would have, I think, been a cool
It would have been a nice rock and roll Sunset Strip kind of moment, I suppose. Weirdly appropriate.
Speaking of falling in public, what a lot of people don't know, and if you can go back, there's a Letterman performance that Fall Out Boy did years ago. And I went out and I was like, I want to look cool. And I like bought this like burgundy, like Marc Jacobs, like sport coat, and like want to look cool. And so I got these like shoes. I want to look like slick and cool. I don't know what look I was going for. It was a troubling look, many troubling looks throughout the years. But if you watch, like when you watch those late night shows like Letterman, they have like a cutaway to commercial scene, and it might be like part of the interview from earlier, maybe a live performance. So I fell while playing on Letterman. I fell down. I slipped on those fancy shoes and fell. And I tried to play it off like I was like punk, just getting punk rock about it. Apparently it worked because nobody has known ever since then. But they use that as the cutaway. And so if you ever get a chance to watch it, or anyone listening and watching this wants to go look that up, I fell. That was not intentional, but I played it off. It's
the art of playing it off. That's the art to it, man.
Well, the art. I talked to Harry Shearer when we did on Conan. We did the Spinal Tap homage where we did Getting Stuck in the Pod. We did Stonehenge. It was super fun. Harry's fucking funny, man. I won't say what type of Jewish jokes. We're both Jewish, but I got to spar on Jewish jokes with them. It was really fucking a dream for me as a comedy nerd. It was really fucking cool. But anyway, so we talked about, really the most important thing about being a professional, whether it's a improv comic, whether it's a musician, whatever it is knowing how to fuck up. It's not being great's important. Being good is even important. Just being okay, caring about the craft is important, but knowing how to fuck up, how to get out of a fuck up. And that's, I guess, what I did.
It all ties back to the themes of the podcast, man. This is a good thing. Knowing how to fuck up, realizing when you have, knowing how to get out of it and improve. That's the whole thing.
I feel so much better being honest about this stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Of course you should be, man, for sure. If you don't mind me asking, how do you feel about it now, man, going out on the tour? Do you feel a lot better about it now?
The tour with Green Day and Weezer?
Yeah. I mean,
dude, that's a cool tour. First off, like, we've done very few stadium gigs. Only one where we've headlined at Wrigley Field in Chicago, and the others were playing under Lincoln Park, in like Poland and Italy. And so not too many, other than that, like festivals, like where they hold them at a stadium, but it's not the same. This is like a stadium tour. How can I not, that's kind of the biggest you can do. And that is really cool. And that is like a throwback to all the big rock god tours of the ages. And to be a part of that, historically speaking, would be really cool. And the feeling of playing in a stadium to a baseball or football field worth of people it's really cool. It's we did a Rock in Rio, some years back, not before the pandemic, with like Def Leppard and like Aerosmith. We were like build up with them, and I was like, this is fuck. Like right after us, like was Def Leppard. It was fucking crazy, and there's easily, and I'm underestimating 100,000 people in the crowd, and it's so many people, it becomes like less frightening and more surreal, and you almost feel like speaking of working with heavy metal, I almost feel like I'm in the movie Heavy Metal, in this surreal wasteland full of like insane people, and I'm just like, this is really fucking cool and experiential. And so I want to get on that tour and go have that experience, and I want to see what it's going to be like every night. I don't, because touring's become it's not boring, but we've done all the stuff. This is a new thing, and I think to do something new is always exciting for anybody.
God, yeah, man. And speaking on behalf of the fans who can't speak to you right now, I'm telling you, it's very exciting, dude. That lineup, I am delighted. A man of my age, come on, I am delighted with that.
There's a lot of hit songs in here,
mate,
which I think
too many hit songs. It's unbelievable.
Want to hear songs I love as an album track guy. When I go see a show, I'm like everybody else, I just want to hear the hits.
Yeah, that's it. At that show, I think the level of hits, it's going to be absolutely outrageous, man.
I think there might be one band with more than others.
I don't know. I don't know. We won't get into listing, but that's interesting. But anyway, I think they're all fairly evenly matched. It's right up there. Before I let you go, Joe, I mean, you mentioned earlier lots of exciting things you're not necessarily allowed to talk about yet that you are working on in various avenues. Is there anything you want to hint at? Is there any little clues you want to give away? What can you actually tell us about these other projects?
I brought up the comic stuff. So there are comics I'm working on with Brian Posehn and Rick Remender. So that stuff will come to fruition because either we've gotten the go ahead from publishers, or there's enough control for my one or both of my writing partners to push that forward. Some of the other stuff is just not in my control, and some of the stuff I just have to. I'll just say this: I am writing more, and there will be more. If people like the few things I've written, which are very few and far between. I mean, I think the last thing I wrote that people have read is I think I wrote something about Eddie Van Halen in Variety. And if you like how I write there might be a lot more of that in the future. I'll just say that.
Exciting stuff, man. Joe, real pleasure to get to chat to you, man. All the best to you, the family, the bandmates, all that stuff. And we'll catch you in the UK whenever that happens. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Wait,
yeah, absolutely, dude. All right, Joe Trohman, everybody.